It's the end of the world. Hey YouTube, it's Rachel Stewart with Spend Smart, Live Happy. And today I want to talk to you about emergency planning or preparedness for you as a single person, or for you and your partner or your family. And this is something that was instilled in me actually at a young age. When I was younger, my family was very active in the LDS church actually. And even though I no longer am a practicing member of that church, I still have certain values, lifestyles that were ingrained in me from such a young age that, you know, I still value those things today. And there were a lot of good things, such as this emergency planning. So basically what that is, if you don't know what that means, that's storage of food and water and supplies to sustain you or your family for a certain duration of time. You really should have at least like 3 months, but if you can have longer than that, that's great. So I do have a certain amount of things already, but I really wanted to try to really set up a good, you know, supply of certain items. And so I've made it my goal for the new year, 2017, to get my family's emergency planning in check. So what I'm going to do today is go over with you all of the different things that are going to be important for you to consider adding to your supply if you are interested in having food storage and, you know, supply storage. So and then we're going to talk to you about how to put together a plan. So in setting up this goal to gather all of the supplies and the food and the things that me and my family would need, I utilized several different websites to kind of gather the information, because there was a lot of things that I could list off the top of my head that I knew I would need, but by doing some additional research I found a lot of items that I wouldn't even have thought of, that then once you see them you're like, oh yeah, of course, I do need that. That's something I use all the time, and if we were in a situation where we were without it, that would be very hard. And let me just say too, I'm not this like wackadoodle doomsdayer kind of person. You need to be prepared, not just for like the end of the world, which may or may not ever come. I don't really know what my thoughts are on that, but there's a lot of things that could happen. You or your partner could lose your job and be in a situation where money, you're still having to pay a mortgage and car notes and different things, and you don't have enough money to buy certain essentials. Then having that storage on hand will help float you for a few months until you're able to get more employment, or there could be even more on a larger scale, but very possible if there was some kind of natural disaster or something that impacted the influx of fresh food or certain items that you're used to having. And so by having them on hand, then no matter what the situation may be, whether it's just a small financial crisis or something larger scale like a natural disaster or some type of warfare or anything like that. So it really you don't really have to think of it as like just the end of the world. It could be a lot of different things could happen that could cause your family to need those supplies. So anyway, some of the websites that I referenced when gathering all of this material that we're going to go over today is from the Southern Nevada Health District and LDS.org and FEMA and Ready.gov, American Red Cross, and the CDC, which is the Controls for Disease Control and Prevention, Center for Disease Control and Prevention. So those are some of the websites that I use to get additional ideas above and beyond what I could think of myself. And so I want to go ahead and share all this with you today. So definitely one item that you're going to want to store is water. And you can store water. They make a lot of really fancy containers, big, barrels, and I have some different water containers, and they make them, but a lot of times they're pretty expensive. So if your family, not that I recommend drinking soda, but if your family drinks a lot of soda, you can actually use the soda bottles. If they've been properly sanitized, then you can store water in there. However, I would not recommend using like milk jugs or anything, because there's too much of a risk for there being bacteria in the milk bottle. Plus, they're not as sturdy and will crack and break over time. So what you're going to want is you're going to want to store 1 gallon of water per person per day. And I went on my first backpacking trip here a few months ago, and you don't realize how much how much you need water, not just for drinking, but for all of these daily tasks, until you get in a situation where you have limited water source. We're really spoiled in modern day suburbia. We have access to fresh running water whenever we want. But here it was, I was out in the wilderness, and I had all the water that I needed. I had to carry on my back until we got to a fresh water source. And I did have a water filtration system and everything like that. But, I really quickly realized, just for cooking the food and washing myself and washing the dishes that I used to eat off of, and drinking, and, cleaning cuts, and there's like all kinds of things that you need water for. So if you were in a situation where you didn't have, you and your family didn't have access to clean, fresh water, then you need to have water stored on hand, and you need to have ways to sanitize that water, whether it be, with looking up the directions of how to sanitize the water with bleach or boiling, and all of those details. So you want to try to keep at least a 3-day supply of the water, and that's for every person in a household. So a 3-day supply for every person. And you want to change out your water supply every 6 months. So that might be, if you've got a lot of people in your house and you've got to store a lot of water, that might be a bit of a laborious task. But trust me, if you're in a situation where you need water, you're going to be really grateful that you have all of that water storage. And I guess I should say before I continue that there's all kinds of creative ways for you to store your food storage and your supplies, because I understand that not everyone has a garage. I am fortunate enough to have a 2-car garage, so I have lots of room where I can put more shelving units and store things, and I have a closet where I can keep my long-term food storage and things like that. But you can actually put beds up on risers. You can get those I think at like Home Depot or Lowe's, different places, little like risers. They're usually about this tall, and you can raise the whole bed up, and you can put storage underneath the bed. You can put higher shelving inside closets to maximize the space in the closet that you're using. There's a lot of different ideas that the ways that you can store all this stuff, even if you don't have a big garage to store things in. So moving on, I want to talk to you about food. So you need to store 2 types of food. You need to have a 3-month short-term supply of food, and then you need to have your long-term food supply. And those are products that last 30 or more years. These are like dehydrated items, and we'll go into that. For your 30+ years food storage, your long-term food storage, that's going to include things like wheat and white rice and corn and pinto beans, rolled oats, pasta, dehydrated apple slices, and non-fat powdered milk. Things like that, those are things that when they're stored properly, like at room temperature in airtight containers, they will store for a very, very long time. And just to kind of put it into perspective for you how much you need, for 1 adult, you're going to need 25 pounds of wheat, white rice, corn, or other grains, and 5 pounds of dry beans. That's per adult. And that's what you're going to need for your dry long-term goods. And Then other things that you want to keep would be like for your shorter term food storage, you would want to keep ready to eat canned meats, fruits, vegetables, canned juices, milk, soup, staples such as sugar, salt, and pepper, high energy foods like peanut butter and jelly, granola bars, trail mix. You also want to store vitamins. You want to keep comfort stress foods. So you want to have like some coffee and some tea, sweetened cereals. You want to have some wheat and flour, baking powder, yeast, sugar, baking soda, and cooking oil. Those are all certain things that you would want to keep like a 3-month supply of. And you're going to rotate these foods every 6 months. So you just keep them on hand, and as the time goes on over the next few months, you'll start rotating those items. You'll use some and then you replace what you used. And that's really a great way to do it. And that way, like I said, if you or your partner loses your job and you don't have money to buy a lot of food, and you've got, especially if you have a big family to feed, trust me, having those 3 months of food supply really helps. I actually have had times where money was really tight as a single mom, and because I had some food storage, it allowed me to kind of float by for a few months while I kind of got back on my feet. So it was really a really great idea. And sorry I have my notes here, it's a lot of information, and it's hard I want to make sure I don't miss anything in sharing with you. So I do apologize, I don't normally like to necessarily look at notes, but I think that's the best way to do it today. So for clothing and bedding, you want to have some sturdy shoes or work boots, like hiking boots, something like that, because if you were to ever need to, set out somewhere where you might be going remote or walking long distance, or doing some type of labor, you want to have sturdy shoes that you can wear. You want to have rain gear. You want to have blankets or sleeping bags, some hats and gloves for everybody, thermal underwear, and sunglasses, things to help protect you from the elements should you need to be out in them. Some different supplies that you're going to need. I've got a long list of supplies here. I'm just going to start reading them off, and this will help you kind of get an idea if of what kinds of things you're going to need to get. Some of the supplies that you're going to need, you're going to have mess kits, like if you're a hiker or backpacker, you know what those are. It's a little kit that will have like a cup and a bowl and a pot or pan so that you can cook things over a portable stove or something of that nature. You want a battery operated radio with batteries. You want to have flashlights and batteries. You want to have some cash on hand, a can opener, utility knife, fire extinguisher, tube tent, pliers, tape, compass, matches in a waterproof container, lighter, aluminum foil, plastic storage containers, a signal flare, a paper and pencil, needles and thread, and some of this, it's like little stuff that you wouldn't even think about, but needle and thread, if it really was some kind of drastic crisis situation and you're pent up in your house or wherever, and things start getting holes, if you have limited clothing, you want means to be able to patch up your clothes and sew things back together. Or you might need to sew tarps, or who knows, there's like endless possibilities. But you want to have a whistle and plastic sheeting. You want to have maps. Maps are very important for maps of surrounding states and areas. You want to have razors. You want to have lots of toilet paper. And let me tell you, if you're not a couponer, toilet paper is a great thing to coupon for, because if you watch the sale cycles to when toilet paper goes on sale, and then you also combine price matching at Walmart and or coupons, you can get toilet paper for really cheap. My kind of personal rule of thumb when I'm buying items that I kind of have my own idea for what I consider a rock bottom price for certain products, And for me, toilet paper, I like to pay, if I can, keep it under 45 cents per roll. So it's really easy. You just, when you're at, at the store and everything, you just calculate the price and figure out what it is per roll based on the total price and how many rolls are in the package. And then you find out how much you're paying per roll. And you'd be surprised, sometimes like the bulk packages, like the big ones that come with 24 rolls or something. So you think, oh, it's a bigger package, I'm getting a better deal, but often you are not. Sometimes you're paying 60 plus cents per roll for the toilet paper, and it's not a good price. So anyways, definitely coupon for toilet paper, and you want to keep a lot of toilet paper on hand, because trust me, if it was a situation where you couldn't purchase more toilet paper, and you or your family ran out of toilet paper, that's definitely something you're going to miss and you want to have on hand. You want to have feminine supplies, other types of hygiene items, bungee cords, tape, tools, a cell phone charger, work gloves, safety goggles, and then there's some items, like if you've watched my other videos on how to make various homemade natural products and things, there are some staple items that I use to make all kinds of different products that I would highly recommend you keep on hand, because you can do so many different things. You can make laundry detergent, you can make dish soap, you can make all-purpose cleaner, there's a lot of different things you can do. So some of those things would be like baking soda and vinegar, Fel's Naphtha soap, or also some Castile soap, borax, super washing soda, Epsom salt. Those are all good things to have on hand because you can do a lot of different stuff with just those few products. You want to keep candles on hand. If you don't have electricity, you're going to want candles to be able to see. You want to have, I think I already mentioned when I talked about the water, a water filtration kit. Something that you could take with you if you had to leave, and you would be able to filter your water. Possibly, if you believe in carrying weapons, you can go through the process of getting a concealed weapons license and getting trained on how to use them, or invest in some knives, or just some type of weapon that you would be able to use to protect you and your family. Or knives are really great because they're all purpose. You can do so many different things. You want to have a good knife. You want to have rope, maybe a shovel, some firewood, some type of stove and fuel, bikes. And this was an interesting one that my mom actually told me about, and that's a walking cane and crutches. Once again, like not something you would think about, but and somebody gets injured, having crutches to where you could still get around the house, or wherever, if you're leaving the house, be able to walk and be mobilized. I really recommend that you have like backpacking gear, have good backpacks that can carry a lot of supplies and all of, other types of backpacking supplies that if you needed to leave your house and head out somewhere on foot, you had the supplies that you could do so. You want to have garbage bags. You want to have a plastic bucket with a lid. And Home Depot actually has buckets with lids. They're 5-gallon buckets, I think. Those things are awesome. They're only like I think they're about $5 or so for a bucket. And I use them in my garden. When I had the turtle, I used it for the turtle tank, filling it up with water. They're really great. You want to have some different types of disinfectant. You want to have some special items that you might need. Would be like prescription drugs, especially if you've got someone in your house, or you are diabetic, or if you have asthma or severe allergies. You want to have some supply of medication. Another item that you want to have is formula. If you have babies, young children in your house that are still drinking formula, you want to have that on hand. You want to have diapers or any other items like that you would need to take care of your baby and young infant. And eyeglasses and contacts, things that if you need any of those things, you want to have those on hand as well. You want to make a plan for your pets. A lot of us have dogs or cats or other types of animals. You want to make a plan of what you're going to do with your pet, because that's another thing that we don't often think about. It's like, well, yeah, if something happened, what am I going to do with my pet? And so put together a plan for that. You want to keep important documents in a waterproof container. They often make these, I'm sorry, my phone keeps going off. It's Christmas Eve, so I'm sure it's family and friends wishing me Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. But you want to keep it, they make these like, it looks almost like a briefcase, but they're plastic and they're waterproof. And you can put all of your important documents in there. That way, if you needed to quickly evacuate your home, all you need to do is grab that briefcase with all your critical important documents, and it's waterproof, so you know that wherever you're going, you'll keep them safe. And you want to keep, you want to put together like a 72-hour kit, and this would be a backpack that's filled with things that could get you through a 72-hour time span. And in there, you're going to keep, some clothing items, some food, a knife, maybe different things that you think you might need over a 72-hour period if you had to quickly leave your home. And you want to keep a smaller version of this kit in your car at all times, so that if you are not at home when some type of crisis occurs, you have some supplies in your vehicle that you could have access to that could maybe tide you over until you can get to fresh supplies. You want to rethink your kit and your family needs once a year. You want to go through, and batteries need to be rotated. You need to check flashlights and different items and make sure they're still working. You want to update clothes because obviously people grow over the year. You want to make sure all the clothes that you're keeping in your 72-hour kits and everything are current and fit. Something that's really, really important, you want to have a really good first aid kit. That, along with the food and the water, is very, very critical. So some things that you want to have in your first aid kit would be sterile adhesive bandages in assorted sizes. You want to have 2-inch sterile gauze pads, about 4 to 6 boxes of them, and 4-inch sterile gauze pads, once again, 4 to 6 boxes of them. You want to have hypoallergenic adhesive tape and triangular bandages. You want to have 2-inch sterile roller bandages, and you want to have 3 rolls, and 3-inch sterile roller bandages, also 3 rolls. You want to have scissors, tweezers, a needle, moistened towelettes, antiseptic, a thermometer, tongue blades. If you don't know what those are the things when you go to the doctor's office and they stick them in your mouth to press your tongue down, little sticks to hold your tongue down. Those are tongue blades. So you want to get those. And you want to have a tube of petroleum jelly or other type of lubricant. You want to have assorted size of safety pins and soap. You want to have 2 boxes of latex gloves, sunscreen, pain reliever, anti-inflammatory, anti-diarrhea medication, antacids, laxatives, activated charcoal in case you need to basically like pump someone's stomach. Moleskin. Moleskin is a godsend. If you are a hiker, particularly like a backpacker, you know the importance of moleskin, because when you get a blister, when you're walking long distances, especially with gear on your back, and you get blisters, you want to have moleskin. It's just like this patch of, feels almost like felt, and you put it over the blister, and then you can put your shoes on, and it prevents further irritation and rubbing on the blister. And then the final thing you want to have is rubbing alcohol. You want to gather emergency phone numbers so that you have all of those handy and you would know who to call in a crisis situation. And something that you might want to consider, which I think is really cool, and that's becoming a licensed ham radio operator. So they actually have classes. You do have to get licensed. It's really monitored. It's not like something that anybody can just go do. You have to actually get licensed and certified because there are really important responsibilities that come with being a ham radio operator. But you could look it up online for maybe somewhere near you where those classes are offered and look into the information of how you can become a ham radio operator. And definitely, if there was some major crisis, having that skill set and knowledge and equipment could save your family's life. So I don't know whether I'll ever get my ham radio license. It's something I've considered though. Maybe one day when I have more free time, which is not anytime soon. Now, what you're probably thinking right now, if you've made it to this point in the video, is, wow, that's a lot of stuff that I have to buy. And because especially if you have no food storage or supplies right now to buy all of that, it's going to be pretty expensive, especially the long-term food storage, the 30 plus years. That can get really pricey to buy this stuff. And so what I'm going to do, I found on the Southern Nevada Health District's website, because I live in Nevada, in Las Vegas, but on their website, they actually have this preparedness calendar, and it shows you how over the course of 6 months, it's a plan of a small amount of things you buy on a weekly basis to eventually build up your entire storage, so that it's not like this burden of, oh my gosh, I want to get my family prepared and I need to go buy all this stuff and spend hundreds or thousands of dollars. So you can do it slowly, and that's what I'm going to do because there are so many things that I still need. I'm going to do it, making it my goal for 2017 to get everything that I need for me and my family. So I did print off their calendar. You can see here it's quite a few pages, and it shows like week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and it just shows you all the things that you would buy. And of course, their plan is not completely what my family would want or need. So I just printed this off to use as like a guideline or a template, and then I'm going to custom make my own preparedness calendar of the things also based on what I already have. I'll make a calendar of the things that I need, and I'm going to spread it out over the course of 6 months. And that's going to make it much more manageable, much more affordable, and much more doable. So that pretty much sums up what I wanted to talk about with emergency family preparedness. And I know some people might think that's a little cuckoo, or they think that, that's stupid or silly to keep so much stuff on hand. And, everything in life is a gamble, it's a risk, and sure, something may never happen. You may never need to use those things, and you're just going to constantly be rotating them and having things that you have to store. But on the chance that something could happen, you want to be prepared. I mean, I used to watch that show, I Shouldn't Be Alive. If any of you have seen it, it was like many years ago that it used to come on. I don't even remember what channel, Amy or something, but it was a really good show. But it was so funny because majority of the time, these people that, I should say, if you haven't seen the show, what it is each episode is about a person or a group of people that become stranded or lost or injured, and they're in these life or death crisis situations, and they don't have the supplies or something that they need, or they do have the supplies that they need, and they almost die and they lose limbs and all kinds of crazy things. So anyways, in that show, a lot of times people, they do something stupid. They decide to go out like backpacking all alone, and they go somewhere remote, and maybe they don't have enough supplies. So it's one of those things where it's like, if you were to need those supplies, you would be so grateful that you had done this and that you and your family are going to be okay. Whether it's just the loss of a job or an interruption in food supply, maybe, famine or warfare, or who knows, there's so many different things that could happen. So that's my message for today. I hope that you all consider, I hope I've inspired you or motivated you to prepare for an emergency and get your family the things that you need. So hopefully this helped you. If you found it interesting or useful, please share with your friends, and let's help everyone get prepared and plan for their future. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that red subscribe button, like, and leave comments below, and I'll see you next time. Bye guys.